There.
Oh,
So I
he
think
sounds
that's the majority of our team. We're really excited.
awesome. Okay, so I would like to at this time introduce Isaiah and Brianna Bell. There's so much to talk about that I actually had to write down notes because they're so amazing. Okay, so they come from a family of, are you ready for this? 11 kids. Whoa.
Wow.
8 of which are self-employed people. So I don't know what mom and dad have in their genes, but way to go, mom and dad. And it's a pleasure to work with all the Bell people I've worked with. Your father also had a construction company, correct? Yes? Yes. Yes. Awesome. So they come by it naturally. I've got 2 words for them. It would be serial entrepreneurs. Every time I see Isaiah, he's got like at least 3, 4, 7 new business ideas, as do other Bell people when I run into them. I always have to make sure I have a notebook ready to take notes when I see them. It is crystal clear when you first meet them that they are also doing what sets their soul on fire. It is such a blessing to work with them. Okay, so on the left with the hat and the collar is Isaiah. He came to me how many years ago did you have the vision for Prestige?
That's been like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, anyway, he took that dream and brought it to fruition. So he actually has Prestige Studio on 6th and, what is it, 6th and?
It's right off 6th and Lawrence Avenue.
Okay, awesome. Right across the street from Genesis Gym. Prestige Hair, Isaiah, when he created this vision, he wanted something that was all-inclusive. So he has an all-inclusive luxury salon and barbershop. But just to be clear, when they said all-inclusive, I was like, oh my gosh, like spa day? And they're like, no. All-inclusive meaning that they welcome all races, all hair types. And that through all this process, again, Isaiah is very passion driven, of course. Brianna is also, oh, I got to let someone else in. Look at us go. Okay, Brianna is part of the Prestige Hair team. She's also the creator of Curlology, of which we're going to be using today, the core part of today's presentation. Brianna started connecting with different cosmetology schools and noticed that there was a lack of diversity in their curriculum. I am proud to say we can all be proud because now we know someone who serves on the Kansas Board of Cosmetology. She's in a subcommittee and she's helping update the curriculum. So she's like actually changing the landscape of hair. Isn't that awesome? To include all kinds of hair, textured, all kinds of texture, because we have straight and curly, and she wants to make sure that textured and curly hairs are fairly represented. Her mission is to provide a place for all races and all textures to have a place in the hair industry. We've got posted in the group chat information, the contact information if you would like to chat with them outside of this Zoom. So now what I'm going to do is, let's see if anyone has any questions. How do you want to deal with that, Bell family? Or can people just ask, or do you want them to put their hand up or put a question in the chat room that I can address?
The chat room would be great. We do have part of the presentation that is kind of interactive. So
Awesome.
If you could just type something like question in the chat room, we can call on you so we can have an organized kind of format of speaking.
Awesome. And I'll monitor the chat room as well and make sure to bring it to your attention if someone has questions. Okay, so now we're turning it over to the wonderful and talented trailblazing brother-sister team. Woo! All right, guys, take it over.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Angela. We are super excited to be here. Once again, my name is Brianna. This is Isaiah. We've been at this for about three and a half, kind of going on 3 years now. running Prestige Hair Studio. And as she mentioned, you know, working with so many different salons, oftentimes in the hair industry, salons kind of get trained into this format of, you know, we don't really connect with our next door salons or our next door stylists. And so we were super passionate about just creating a strong community, no matter who you are, no matter what race you are or what hairstyle you have, making sure that we can really create a strong bond within the hair industry, because we are a really, I guess we're really one of the industries that have connections, immediate connections with the community. So it's important for us to have strong bonds and strong connections, so that can therefore flow into our clients and flow out into our surrounding community. So I'm going to go ahead. Isaiah, did you want to say something on sharing the?
As we're about to get started on breaking barriers, where that got started from was a lot of the, it's a sub class that we do through Curlology. That got started with a lot of the racial tensions that were happening this year, and we were really driven to do something and be active within our community. So that's what we'll be going over today.
Yes. So once again, if you have questions, comments, feel free. Usually we do this, you know, in group, you know, in-person classes. And so it's a very interactive presentation, and we all know that we're all from different industries and things like that. But one thing we'll constantly be emphasizing throughout our presentation is that, you know, we're in the service industry. A lot of us deal with the same issues. So even though we're talking about hair, and a lot of our videos we'll be watching today may be in the hair context, you very well can translate them into your industry as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation with you. Can we all see that? Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me shift.
Okay, so for those of us that may be older, can you go to the front page that you just had?
There we go.
Okay, so curlology.com, that is a website. Okay, so what is that for?
Oh, okay. So @ is for Instagram.
Nice.
Also, we don't really use our Twitter account, but that's the same format. You can just type that in, the study of curls, and it will take you to our social media pages.
Excellent.
And oftentimes people throughout our classes are taking pictures and commenting or creating Facebook posts, and we do like for people to hashtag, you know, Curlology education, so we can be able to see everyone's posts, because we also keep in mind that we may not be immediately connected on social media, so that just gives us an immediate link to view everyone's feedback and how they enjoyed the class. So
excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much, and definitely feel free to go check out our website. We have some really great information over there as well. So we kind of talked about the mission of Curlology and how we really wanted to create a platform where people of all ethnicities and all hair types can really have a place in the hair industry. One thing we constantly recognize is that there was just so much segregation when a lot of people are going through the education part, the training part of Curlology, or of cosmetology and barbering, where oftentimes when students go through school, they're given, you know, curriculum books, very thick books and lots of mannequins, but all of them are straight hair. And all of them, even when we talk about makeup and nails and barbering and things like that, it's always spoken in a sense of, centered around, you know, very Eurocentric. And so not to say that those same formats and those same foundational theories don't apply to curly hair or people of other races. With Curlology, we find that they do intermingle, and we can have a standardized format for all hair types. But as we'll emphasize today, just analyzing the different periods and the different times that our industry was created in, a lot of that has flown into what a lot of the racial issues that we're dealing with today. So as Angela mentioned, you know, our passion is to really just create a place for all textures of hair in the hair industry and all races. So you want to talk about it?
As you can see at the bottom, it says hair is a microcosm of different issues. You can use hair to just use it as an example for a lot of situations in your life. Just because we're talking about the hair industry, whatever industry you guys are in today, we want you to be able to look at these scenarios and reflect them to your own life and your own life situations. So don't think that this is just a hair thing, but this is hair that can be used in all parts of life.
We're pretty much going to start off after this slide talking about the history of kind of the hair industry and specifically talking about some information about Black, the hair culture, and a lot of how different styles and stuff originated from the Black community or the African community, and really identifying how that translated into some of the issues that we face today. This is when we get around 3, when we start looking at real scenarios. We will be watching a few videos, and this is the more interactive part of the presentation where we really want you to just pay attention to, you know, people's facial expressions, people's interactions, the words they speak, so that we can start, you know, connecting this. How can we make this better? You know, we're in 2020. If I walked up to somebody on the street and said, you know, hey, I can't talk to you because you're white or because you're Mexican, people would automatically say, you know, hey, that's not right, you know. But there's these underlying just industries where, you know, even the hair industry, it's been okay to say, hey, go to that salon because, you know, she's a white stylist or she's a Black stylist. And that is not okay to say. And there's so many stylists out here wanting to learn and wanting to be given the correct curriculum and correct words on hand to how to handle situations. And so it's really important that we start having these open conversations so that we can all be on the same page. There it goes.
Okay.
The history behind.
Sorry, there you go.
We're just going to go over a few ground rules. We want to make sure you're able to pay attention to the microaggressions that we'll be bringing up, but also listen respectfully. This is things that we go over when we're in person, but as well as when you're asking questions, just make sure you're not blaming anybody or debating anything. It's just an atmosphere where we're able to discuss these things. If you have questions on your mind, feel free to ask them. It's bad if you don't ask them. I'll say that much, you know.
This is an open space, so we're here to openly have these conversations. So this next video, once again, is talking about hair culture, like pertaining to hair history and pertaining to African history and how some of the stylings have transitioned. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this video. Can you all hear the audio? Just let me know if the audio is not translating correctly.
The history behind all elaborate designs and hairstyles originated in different ethnic groups in Africa. The first known example of dreadlocks date back to ancient Egypt, where dreadlocks appeared on many artifacts. Ancient Egyptians with dreadlocks have also been recovered from archaeological sites. Socially, hair grooming played a significant part in status and identity in African tribes. It was a way to identify someone's social status based on ethnicity, social rank, age, marital status, wealth, fertility, manhood, religion, and death. Twisting, braiding, cotton or wool thread weaving, adding animal fat or mud and clay were all techniques used to create these elaborate looks. Due to styling taking hours and sometimes days, much like today, women use this time of beautifying as a chance to socialize and form meaningful bonds with one another. In 1444, Europeans began to kidnap Africans of all social statuses and trade them on the west coast of Africa. Many wore elaborate hairstyles. Although the Europeans were first entranced with and admired the complexity of style, texture, and adornment of Black hair, something had to be done to rid them of their identity to maintain control and independency. Many slave owners shaved not only the men's hair, but women's hair as well. This was considered an unspeakable crime to many tribes. In 1619, the first slaves were brought to Jamestown. After being on a ship for 3 months in unbearable conditions where hygiene, let alone hair care maintenance, couldn't be maintained, many of the enslaved Africans' hair was matted upon arrival. The enslaved Africans were no longer allowed to speak their native languages, do traditional dances, and maintain their hair in the styles that they chose. All of the African culture and grooming traditions began to disappear. Slave owners wanted to cut off the enslaved Africans' connection to their true self. They pushed their standard of beauty, bare skin, straight hair, and thin facial features. African dark skin, kinky hair, and wider facial features were deemed unattractive. Because of this, lighter skinned, straight hair slaves commanded higher prices at auction. The enslaved Africans were given no way to care for their hair. In the 1800s, without combs and the herbal treatments used in Africa, they were forced to use bacon grease, butter, kerosene, and sheep brushes to maintain their hair. In 1845, metal hot combs are invented by the French and available to the United States. Many people believe Madam C.J. Walker invented the hot comb, which is incorrect. She developed a range of hair care products for Blacks and popularized the press and curl style. In 1865, slavery ended, but the emotional and psychological scars lived on and are still evident today. Quote unquote good hair, or hair that is finer, curlier, and closer to that of Europeans, becomes a prerequisite for getting jobs, entering certain schools, churches, and social groups.
Okay.
So can we open up for some questions that people might have for the video? That video I was just playing? Are they able to send some?
Okay, I have a chat question. Okay, they said the sound is good. I found it interesting, you know, with the hair and the loss of the hair with identity. We also see this in the cancer world as well. So I find it interesting that we have, like, again, more things similar, I think, than people are willing to look at. Did you, or identify with, did you guys find that as you've done your research for this presentation?
Yes, as we have definitely presented to many groups, different points have been brought out, and that has been one thing we talk about, is just understanding that, you know, hair, people think of it as, you know, something so small, so little, you know, but it really is a crucial part of our identity. And so understanding when something, what we consider so little, is taken from us, it then kind of has this trickling effect of, you know, other emotional issues, our emotional feelings and just problems that we deal with. So understanding, in relation back to, you know, the video, understanding that, like, this is why this is such an important topic.
Brianna, I'm going to interrupt you here real quick. We got a message that says they can't hear you. So can you get closer to a microphone?
Yes, let's see. Can you hear me now?
I think that's good.
Yeah. So basically what I was saying is just understanding that something so, what it seems so small, you know, is so important. For one, you know, they may have a desire to grow their hair out. For others, it's like, you know, hey, I'm gonna, taking the step to even, you know, cut your hair off is super important. And so analyzing and looking at history, understanding like why this is such an important conversation to have, because when the slavery times and everything was going on, like that was one of the first things, you know, that they did to strip slaves of their identity. And as you mentioned, you know, cancer patients, understanding that, you know, hair, it strikes so many other conversations, and understanding that emotional, just pressure of losing something that important. It's a feeling that you know, people can relate to. Not saying they're all going through the exact same thing, but it still centers around, you know, your identity.
So hair is hair. It doesn't matter, just like white, black, Puerto Rican, Native, whatever. Everybody has a heart. If you want to use that as an example, everyone has hair. That's how we can come together and talk about these issues.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay, so right here you guys can see a timeline, just stating from how in America a history that we have of slavery, and then we go into segregation as well. And you can see where we are at today. and then compare it to stating from 1625 all the way up to 2020, just the history, and you guys can see that we're not that far removed. Some would say, you know, that was in the past, but we still have generations that still practice these same beliefs and these same practices that go on today.
Also understanding, you know, even in the blue area where we often identify as, you know, time of segregation, that was a time period where, you know, they started saying, you know, slavery had ended, but had it really ended? You know, we all can answer that question, and realizing that this was a time period where, you know, Jim Crow laws were created, you know, Brown versus Board, and, you know, just the different things that were created to, in a way, continue on a lot of the what's the word I'm trying to think of? Just different, yes, practices that were done during slavery that still continued on, you know, years after. And though we have improved, we're still not that far from that time period. And so understanding that we still have work to do, and the best thing that we can do is go back and identify where these issues, you know, stem from, so that we can move past them. Oftentimes, you know, people, it is an uncomfortable, you know, subject to have, because you don't want to attack anyone and say, you know, oh yeah, you know, you were the one enslaving people. And that's not, you know, what anyone is trying to say. But we do have to understand that some different systematic practices that are still in place today, whether people know it or not, are stemming from the past. And so once we recognize them, we can therefore continue to move on and improve.
And as you saw in the video, it talked about how some of these, you know, enslaved families are still practiced, or the effects from that are still today. Our grandfather, actually, who was 94, just passed in March. So, and I can remember stories of different things he had to deal with in segregation, you know, and I'm a lot younger generation, but I can still, you know, take from what he told me and see these things still being practiced today. And before him, you know, they were enslaved. So we're really not that far removed. As much as people want to act like it, it's not true to be the case.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna go ahead and move on. Some facts we really wanted to point out as we were doing our research, you know, understanding the cosmetology and the barbering industry, we identified that our industry was kind of established when it was when people were creating rules for our industry, the hair industry. They were created in 1937. So if we go back to this kind of timeline right here, 1937 kind of falls right in there. And so we often ask, you know, our class, let's list out some things that were kind of going on during that time period. And the main things that always get brought out is, you know, we can assume that, you know, there wasn't people of color on those boards. We can also assume that, you know, there wasn't women on those boards. And so it's interesting to analyze that, because the hair industry is predominantly women working in the hair industry. And so just those different points, we then start to analyze, okay, we're an industry that oftentimes, you know, when we get new staff in place in on these boards, that they get, you know, the packages of their requirements and things like that. But according to society, we just do hair. So is it really as important to really go back and rewrite all the rules of the barbering and cosmetology industries? And oftentimes that comes out as no. From my just past experience of working on the board, we've been these past few weeks analyzing when the last time Kansas's curriculum was rewritten. And the last time it was changed was 26 years ago. And even 26 years ago, we were pinpointing, you know, what was changed about the curriculum. And as most of you may not know this, but Kansas is required for 1,500 hours. Well, 26 years ago, it was 12. So they just added additional hours, and we still had the same curriculum. They just reallocated the amounts of hours that went into those specific topics. So each time the curriculum has been changed, it's just been like, oh, well, let's do more, pin curls instead of more straightening and things like that. Or let's add these new updated trends or practices, or let's even incorporate, more textured hair, or just have these conversations about the truth of what our industry has to deal with. Also, just evaluating other states surrounding. We're super happy that Missouri has been, connecting with us so that we can make this, make these changes happen very quickly. Oftentimes going through school, and Isaiah can definitely attest to this, these are things that when people would come into school, whether we had say a white client that entered the school, they would put them with a white student. But when we had a black student, our black client who would come into the school, it was like, okay, let me pair you with a black student. And it's like, well, we're in school, we should be training to learn all hair types. But we don't realize that even our industry leaders were practicing because they didn't want to deal with confrontation.
So we've taken our own studies just here within Kansas. We put on, when we first started doing these classes, we talked to over 100 people, and the trend that we saw when we took a vote is that many of the student or professionals weren't getting a lot of textured hair training within schools. And what that problem is that more than half of America has textured hair. And we're living in a society where more and more cultures are getting together. And so they're saying that it's okay to marry someone who doesn't look like you. And we're on a rapid pace to more and more textured hair multiplying within the United States. But we're studying a curriculum that says otherwise. Mm-hmm. So you have professionals who are taking these classes are in school, but then when they get their degree and they get out, they're illy prepared they enter a harsh reality, and they're paying $20,000-$25,000 for a curriculum that's illy preparing them. This industry has a lot of turnover. People are they get out and they're like, whoa, I've never learned this in school. And a lot of schools are even offering hands-on for to be able to learn that. And Curlology believes that if you study textured hair, straight hair will be nothing, but right now the curriculum is opposite.
And even talking with many of the different cosmetology and barber schools throughout the Midwest, one of the common things we hear is that they're eager and they're passionate to to change their curriculum and diversify it, but we also have to keep in mind we have a government that therefore issues 1,500 hours of required topics. And so if we're not able to have the government on our side, and we're sending these complaints and everything to the government and our representatives, and they're saying, well, you guys just do hair, we have to come and say, hey, this is the issues, these are the things that we're seeing in our salons, and we're seeing, trickle out into our grocery stores and on the playgrounds, and even our younger generation, they're coming to the salons and seeing a lot of differences and going back to school and talking about it. So we don't realize how much hair is really striking these conversations. So we're gonna go ahead and proceed forward. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this slide because we're gonna go over some videos I want you all to watch. But as we're watching them and as we just proceed throughout today, just continue to ask yourself, do you believe, these systems are still practiced today? And we kind of talked about that already. So just ask within yourself or within your industry, do you see a lot of these issues within the different service industries that you all are in? And are we doing enough, and how can we diversify our education or our industry to make sure that, one, we're being anti-racist, employee, but also having an anti-racism organization. And so sometimes, you're working for others, you have bosses and things like that. And so when you identify something, what are the steps that you are personally going to take to say, hey, I witnessed this in throughout the day, and what are my bosses, what are the leaders going to do to help you make sure that that doesn't happen again. And then if you are a boss, being able to be aware of these things and have an open eye to make sure that if you notice something, that you're not just sitting back and waiting for, your employees to start complaining about it. So we're going to go ahead and proceed forward. Yeah, we have about 4 scenarios that we want you to watch. We're going to go ahead and play all of them. And as we're watching all of them, if you all can just, take some notes, some points, and we do want to hear from kind of each of you, something that you noticed from the skits, or something, any questions that you may have had. So we're going to start with our first one.
Hey man, look, this meeting is a shot. I'll ask him. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
What's up, man?
Oh man, I am so glad to be here. I know you're gonna be here too, man.
Oh yeah, you already know.
Oh man, I got a question for you.
What's up, man?
I was just on the phone with my cousin. I know you're a busy man. Do you think you'll be able to get him in?
You know I always make time for the fellas, man.
Oh, perfect. Man, I can't wait for this cut.
Hey, looking to get a haircut?
You're busy, right?
I'm booked, man, actually for the rest of the week.
What about this weekend?
Yeah, you're booked till forever, I think.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to find somewhere else.
All right.
Come up in here.
Oh. what? Great Clips is what? That way. Get out of here, man. Wait, I know you're gonna start shooting, man.
Yeah. Oh,
This
man.
is push the guy for sure.
Too funny.
I did not feel welcome in that shop. I felt like I was the odd man out or excluded or not welcomed. And it didn't feel good, all I want to do was get a haircut. And they wouldn't let it happen. I did catch them laughing at me when I was walking out the door. It's really disrespectful, and they didn't even wait for me to get in my car to start clowning me.
Oh my God. I'm so glad to be here. I didn't know you were gonna be here, man. Hey. Look, man, I've been looking for this time of the week all week. I'm ready to get chopped up.
I got you.
Look, I know you're a busy man, so I'm glad you fit me in.
Yeah, for sure, man, already.
Absolutely. What you got going on this weekend?
Oh, man, you know me. Hang out, man.
Hey, I was looking to get a cut.
Yeah, I got these guys first. They got appointments, but I can get you right after if you just want to follow us to the back.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
You came to the right place.
Yeah, I like to hear.
Let's go, man. Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, look.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Allison.
Welcome. You want to come on over to the chair?
Awesome.
So what are we doing today, Sarah?
Well, tomorrow's a very important event. My friend is getting married, and I'm one of her bridesmaids. I need to look lovely, and I want to go for a sleek, chic look. So I'm hoping to get my hair pinned straight for tomorrow. Are you able to do that? Is this your first time working with hair like mine?
Yes, but I'm like really good at hair, so you don't need to worry about that. I got you. Let's just get started. Okay. What do you think? Oh my God! You love it?
Allison! I do not love it! This is so goofy. I said pin straight. I want a peacock.
Look, that is not my fault. You should have got a conditioning treatment, a trim. I spent 2 hours, 30 minutes of it was detangling. That's all I got. Look, this is as pin straight as
I
your
look
hair
good
is
tomorrow.
gonna get. Sorry,
It's an important thing.
I'll meet you up front.
Honestly, the hair service I received today made me feel pretty bad about myself. You know, hair is a big thing for all of us, and we come here to feel good, catch up, and I didn't get any of that today. Not only did she not do an acceptable job on my hair, which is understandable to people who are new to my hair type, and she did mention that she was new to my hair type. The part that was just really unacceptable was how she made me feel about my hair, and the fact that she didn't think there was any issue with her skills, but it was my hair that was just so unruly that you can't get it straightened. I think the situation could have been handled better if she had just been honest while she was doing my hair that, like, okay, I'm sorry. As I said before, this is my first time working with your hair type, and I don't think we're going to be able to accomplish the bone straight hair look that we were hoping to give you today. Would you like for me to try and updo or something else instead, since this is a special occasion and you did come here to get your hair done? And we will try again with your hair, and we'll learn more about your hair and how to help you accomplish different looks that you like.
Okay, Sarah, I know it's not as straight as you had in mind. I know that I can do better than this, but if you would let me add some curls in, maybe do an updo, I could fix it for your special event tomorrow. And maybe another time you could come back and let me practice and try again.
That sounds good, Allison. I admit this isn't the final result I was hoping for, but I appreciate your honesty and your effort. You did tell me in the beginning this was your first time working with my hair type. You've been pretty nice to me. I appreciate the updo. I'll take that.
Okay, great. All right, it's time for a haircut.
It really was. I really need a haircut. It's really bad. It looks really gross.
Are we just gonna clean you up today?
Yeah, I think that maybe make it a little bit shorter.
Okay. I haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been?
Hello. A ver, muéstrame.
7.
¿Qué color de pelo vas a elegir? ¿Qué color de pelo vas a elegir? Okay. Is she speaking Spanish?
Yeah, I think so.
Why do all Spanish people come here and they think they're better than everybody else? This is America. They need to speak English.
Excuse me, ma'am. I can't hear you. You are being very rude to me and my daughter, and I don't appreciate that. When she told me to speak English, it made me very uncomfortable, not only for me, but for my daughter as well. It affects my daughter because that's who she is naturally. That's how she grew up. It's my main language, and it'll be hers. The fact that she was born in America and lives in America doesn't mean that she can't speak the language.
And if it made me feel sad, the language I speak, it might be different, but everybody's welcome here in America.
Hello. Hello.
Is she speaking Spanish?
Yeah, I think so. Why? What's up?
This is America. People need to speak English.
This is America, and that's not respectful. And in my salon, she can speak whatever language she wants.
Yo pienso rosa.
When my stylist corrected me, I was shocked because normally people don't correct me. But after she corrected me, I knew that I was wrong, and I knew I need to be more respectful to people because it doesn't matter what language they speak.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you? I'm here for an appointment.
Is it Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Nice to meet you. My name is Isaiah, and I'll be cutting your hair today if you will follow me to the back.
All right, great.
So you say you just moved here?
Yeah, I just moved here from Overland Park.
That's what's up, man. How you liking Atlanta so far?
I like it a lot, man. I really like the college atmosphere, but still kind of a small town vibe.
That's what's up. So how can I cut your hair today?
So I wanted to get a fade on the side, just a little trim on the top, but in the front, don't make me look black.
What do you mean by don't make you look black?
You know, a lot of times it's real sharp and edgy and just, don't make me look black.
So you say you want a fade on the sides
Mm-hmm.
and a trim on the top.
Mm-hmm.
Are you wanting to leave the front natural?
Yeah, it's natural. That's what I mean.
Okay, so let's use those terms instead of connecting it to race, because every race can get their hair cut however they like.
Okay, I got you. That's my fault.
No problem, man.
Appreciate it. I was really surprised that he corrected me on it. I was expecting him, to get angry at first, but instead of going that route, he informed me, and later, in the day, I was able to inform someone else.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Good work.
Appreciate it, man.
No problem, man. I'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Hey man, what's going on?
Just got cut up by my buddy Bell. How are you doing?
Oh yeah, he's that black barber, isn't he?
We don't like to affiliate race with anything like that. He'll get you cut up however you want, though, regardless of your skin color.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. That's a clean cut, though. You think he'd give me that same look, that black look?
Again, it's not a black look. He can cut you up however you want, regardless of race or skin tone or anything like that. He can get you whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right.
good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Take it easy. When I used the term black, I didn't really mean anything bad about it. But then when he corrected me, I understood that it had a negative context to it. So I'm glad he definitely corrected me.
I thought that haircut went really well. I was informed about a lot of things I didn't know about, and a lot of things that were being said that I didn't know were wrong. And in the end, I was able to share that information with people I know and get a good result.
Awesome. Okay, so before we wrap up, usually this is like, a 2-hour presentation, interactive day. So we just went through, everything. I would like to get some feedback from some of our participants and just get feedback on what you saw, what you observed, things on maybe how you would have handled situations, and questions like that. But once again, before we wrap up, we really just want to emphasize that, we are all in the industry of business, of service, and we really want to be the leaders who are setting example for our customers, our clients, for our community. And so I want to open up the floor for comments, for questions, and if we can just get feedback on what you all observed in those 4 videos.
So Brianna, can you make it so we can see faces again and pull down the PowerPoint? Just while we're discussing. Oh, there we go. Excellent.
Okay, awesome. Who would like to?
I thought in skit 3 where the mom spoke up that was amazing, because I think too many times people hear something or think they heard something or they feel slighted in some way. And then I thought it was really good that the mom said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I can hear you and you're affecting my daughter." That I'm sure I would guess if it was just her, she'd let it slide and went right on and thought, well, that wasn't very nice. But it was because of her daughter that she felt she needed to defend her daughter and speak up. And I'm always glad, because I certainly don't want to ever inadvertently offend somebody. So if somebody speaks up and they do it in a polite, not in your face and yelling at you kind of a way, like she did, she said, "Excuse me, ma'am, that I'm sitting right here, that's very offensive." I thought that was excellent.
Yes, that was, there's oftentimes a point that gets brought out. And I like how you brought it, being able to see the words and have the words to say to handle things in a polite situation, because these are situations that do come up, and sometimes people are just talking, and I've witnessed, within my own share, where younger generations are just repeating maybe what their grandparents have said before. And so it's their first time being confronted, and they've just experienced life being able to say and have free will of, judging other people or making inconsiderate comments like that. And so being corrected, I've seen younger generations just be like, oh, wow, like I'm just used to my grandparents or my great grandparents going back and forth about that. Anyone else?
We have a comment in the box that said that was very informative. It was helpful to learn how to speak up in a respectful manner.
Yes, I think that's super important too, because we bring up the analogy, do you go to your dentist, your doctor, and sometimes, you get to talking and saying things, but do they immediately start yelling at you? As professionals, we have to be the one, have the upper hand. And yes, situations can get to the point where you need to talk a little bit more firmly and directly, but as a professional, how can you handle things first in a professional manner? And then if it's necessary, you can say, hey, you need to leave this establishment if you can't, understand where I'm coming from. Go ahead. Anyone else?
I like the one where when Ben came in to get his haircut, and he said, can you trim me up, but I don't want the haircut. I want it to be natural. I don't want the black haircut at the front. And people use words and they say things, and they don't really need to be offensive. And I like the way that Ben didn't take the offense, but he used it to educate them. Some people are saying things and they don't know, and I like to take from the point that you educate people. I will use it as an opportunity to educate people what it makes people like you think or feel, and so that they can use it as an opportunity to go forward and use something else.
Yes.
Don't always know. Just assume that people mean do things for maybe the wrong reason, but oftentimes, as you say, people are just passing down things that they've heard. They think that's what it means, or how it's supposed to say things. So I like the way you put that from the high point. It says, you don't necessarily have to say it that way.
That's an awesome point. You don't want to always be on the defensive side. Like we've been saying, like you don't know where people are getting these things from, or they're just naturalized and they think it's okay. So you can use those as opportunities to educate somebody else. One session we had, they were saying, I would understand if you were mad, but then the story is, it was a mad black guy who got, chased them out of the shop. Now they're going to continue that same thing, but using it as an opportunity to educate and denounce these these different stigmas that are out there. Mm-hmm. So what we ask people is to be aware and know that these stigmas are real, and do what we can on a daily basis to erase them and denounce them, because it's just, and like we took our history lesson, we see where these things came from.
Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, my name is Charles. I am in having a Black mother and being raised by women of color and having daughters that are women of color. One thing that I've experienced a lot, and I know that they experienced a lot too, and you probably have your own experience with this, is that it is really uncomfortable when people just want to come up and try to touch your hair. They seem fascinated, or there's, there a lot of times there is a an overall adornment for what is being, you know, from what someone may see. And a lot of instances, people would just want to run up and try to touch your hair, you know, uninvited. And I didn't know if that's something that, you know, you guys even, you know, if you guys touch on, or if it's something that you've experienced yourself.
Yes, that is something I've experienced, and a lot of my clients, you know, ask me about is like, Brianna, how do I respond to that? And so, coming from a professional, you know, talking to my client, that is something I kind of analyze the situation, because there's times where people are interested and they go uninvitedly, you know, reaching for your hair. You
Right.
to say, hey, you know, don't touch me. And so being able to not stop there, when I'm talking to, especially, you know, my clients who have curly hair and they express to me, you know, I just don't like that. I try to challenge them, you know, yes, tell them to stop, but explain to them, you know, hey, would you want me coming and touching you? And kind of taking it to the extent, and I know oftentimes it's like, you know, I don't want to be, you know, the Black person who has to answer for everyone. But going back to that whole situation, people are doing things, or they might have repeatedly went and touched other people's hair and no one ever informed them that that's inappropriate. You know, you need to ask first. Me going to cosmetology school, I had that, you know, I get it a lot in general, but especially in cosmetology school, it was like, well, we're in hair school, I can touch whatever I want. Like, no. Yeah, like you don't have the right to do that. And so being able to explain to them that that's not okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to point out that
sorry.
The same effect is true for pregnant women.
Yes,
Never
I
in
was
your
going to say that.
would you walk up to a woman you didn't know and put your hands on her belly. But if she's, everybody in the world can just at random walk up to you and put their hands on your belly. And from having children myself, that always was like, excuse me, why do you think you can? If I know you and you ask, okay, but don't just walk up to me and try to put your hands on me. It's my hair, my belly. But you know, we love your hair, Charles, and you put your hat on and did it.
I used to have hair, but now I'm old. And I would also encourage anyone that's interested to look up Madam C.J. Walker. Coming up in a Black household, Madam C.J. Walker was a very, very, very important name in our household. I believe she might have been the first female multimillionaire, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, she actually got rich off of skincare and cosmetology and skincare products. So she's a very good read, and it give you some more insight on the hair care industry and the struggle that Blacks have went through to try to get in the hair care industry too.
Yes, agreed. Any last other comments?
I just appreciated the videos showing a respectful and kind of educational manner to be able to confront people and kind of, like they said, educate people who maybe don't know that what they're saying is inappropriate. Yes. So it was just great to see those working examples like that, and just kind of what you touched on from the beginning, how such a big society problem like race relations, how it can come down to in the hair salon, which I'd never thought about before. So it was very eye-opening to see how much of society problems are also hair problems and how that correlates. And it started me thinking about other service industries, like you said. And so it really does kind of trickle down into everything. And I hadn't thought about that before. So thank you.
No, we really appreciate everyone who participated and chimed in today. You are more than welcome to continue to reach out to us. After we have these sessions, it's oftentimes that we've had clients who said, hey, I'm in this situation right now with a client, and I want to call her back and get it corrected, because it's easy to get on the defensive side, and especially as a professional and being challenged with something that you don't know. we want to say, well, I've done the research, I've gotten my degree, I've done all this, so you can't question me. Well, we're always should be at a very humble state, and always wanting to learn. So make sure you're always taking that step back. And speaking from a woman of color, there's so many times where, I've been challenged and things have been said and done to me where my first instinct is to, I want to get mad and I want to be frustrated, but I have to first challenge myself to correct the situation first. And then, if for some reason it's still not getting across, then I can say, hey, well, then we don't need to be around each other. And so if I take it extreme first, then as, Isaiah mentioned, the story then becomes, oh, well, white people don't belong with black people and black people don't belong with white people or any other race. And so we really have to start challenging ourselves to correct things first and then say, hey, well, then it's not a matter of race. It's a matter of you being rude and being disrespectful to me. And so at least you can leave them with that note. And if they go and do it to someone else, I guarantee you that they're going to be challenged again. And the more that people start seeing and getting corrected, the more that they realize that, we're not going to be a society who's just quiet about these issues, no matter what industry you're in. So any last comments from you, Isaiah?
If there's no last minute comments about the presentation, you can get on the website and get Breaking Barrier shirts if you want to support the movement. All that's on the website. You can be able to order those, and you can also customize it to put whatever you want on the bag, whatever industry you're in, whether you're a mother, father, plumber, lawyer, whatever, you can customize it to you, just and showing support that you're with this movement of desegregation in whatever industry.
Yeah. So I do also want to point out, I really appreciated the timeline. I was a little shocked because, you always think back, but you just don't realize how close the back is. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated that you took time to do that. That was helpful.
Yeah. And it's not to, once again, as you said, it's not to point fingers at anybody.
Just to be aware.
Well, it's, to be aware and understand that we still have learning to do. We still have some improvement to do. So I really appreciate just all of your feedback from today. And like I said, just continue to reach out if you need anything or have questions about any specific issues, or situations you've been in, things like that.
Excellent. Well, I will talk as a Lawrence person, business owner. We are very lucky to have the Bell family in Lawrence. Thank you, KDOT, for allowing this type of platform. This has been very helpful. I've got notes and other stuff that has been super helpful and stuff that I'm actually going to be able to apply in the real world. I appreciate that. Deb, Doria, anybody from the KDOT, do you have any final closing thoughts, comments?
Thank you so much.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your perspective. I appreciate your willingness to share. None of us can learn what we don't know until somebody shares that information with us, regardless of what the information is. So I very much appreciate it. I know that Angela was way excited when she first had this idea, and I thought, oh yeah, I think this sounds great. And you are our maiden voyage on using the Zoom and having a virtual gathering. So congratulations. I think you did an excellent job, and I really appreciate your time. And it'd be great to meet you in person. Yes. So I will look forward to that. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for presenting. Thanks for everybody for joining us.
Excellent. Okay, well, you guys have a wonderful weekend. And again, thank you, Belle, brother, sister. You guys are awesome. And thank you for making us aware. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.